amusing, timing and education and the words that we use. So check this video out over here.
But staying in Victoria now, a Cook statue has been cut off at the ankles. It was found face down on the ground in a park in St Kilda in Melbourne. Of course, where else? Where else? This has got to be Victoria. And the writing on what was left of the monument reads, "The colony will fall." Ooh. Well, you trollops, it hasn't fallen. In fact, the colony's long gone. We are now a thriving, modern nation.
How can you go in the middle of the night and literally saw that thing off at the ankles and not get detected? I've got major questions. Don't they have CCTV cameras down in Victoria? Or do they just get surreptitiously turned off? Who knows?
What do you think? What do you think? Someone got up in the middle of the night after I published a video and did that. Trying to look like someone else. The witches are at it. The witches are at it. The war criminals are scared because they've been caught out at their game. And as they go and celebrate the dog days of summer today, right? As they go and celebrate their doggy days today, I want you to consider the actions that occurred in the middle of the night after video was published. Pretty interesting, right? That they would attack Cook. Now, Cook died. He was attacked by natives in Hawaii and was murdered. That was long before the First Fleet even left the shores of Britain. Right? And then when you've got to consider the demise of a currency 1965 and the introduction of Aborigine into a referendum 1967, what's going on? How can you blame the occupied for doing what the occupier did while it celebrates its Doggy Star Day? The dog days of summer. Go and look that up in the Googles. The dog days of summer. Dog Star Day, right? We already went through the Doggy Star Day. They all paraded their dogs, didn't they? Didn't they? They all got up on the Twitters and said, "Here's my little doggy." And Albo sat there on a throne on a yellow carpet with his little dog Toto, like he was on the yellow brick road, like he was the little wizard. And I never found that DVD. I've got 2 copies of it. I'll have a look for it again. Let me be back. So we start to see a false history that's been sown by people that believe in this witchcraft, that have managed to maintain control like a monopoly board over all of your towns. And we start to see that their own actions, sippity sip, right, of that golden chalice they chose to sip from, is the result. And we didn't choose to sippity sip, did we? We chose to look at who we were, how we were defined in all of this gameplay, and how it's quite possible that witches went out with saws in the middle of the night pretending to be someone else while CCTV was turned off by people that have command over those things. Right before an Australia Day, at which what? The world's upset about, and it has nothing to do with Queen Victoria. Nothing. Because they're the ones that came here and took over after the demise of the Currency 1965, Currency Act 1965, lowering of the Admiralty Ensign 1967, right? The Great Seal of Australia, 1973. This sounds like administrators moving in with their seal, a lower seal to the Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia, which they smashed. So if you go look through the legislation, and then they merged the cabinet with the Prime Minister's office and gave rise to the Federal Executive Council. Federal Executive Council. Now, listen to that video again.
We have in Australia, sadly, a compromise at the highest of levels. There's a former Prime Minister on this list, and it is a police document.
Right. So they were demanded to give documents over to a Royal Commission. They didn't willingly give them up. They didn't willingly charge these people, but they had enough evidence to gross out the Royal Commission. Right, so think about that for a second, and then look at the American video again.
So obviously the Congress has been compromised, and this continues on through the White House, through the Justice Department. The trash can is very deep. It's not a swamp. It's an open sewer.
Now listen to the guy's words here again.
We have in Australia, sadly, a compromise at the highest of levels. There's a former Prime Minister on this list, and it is a police document.
And add the two together. Right? And then look at the line of authority that has been established on the Supreme Court record as being those that were here before 1965. Right? And those that came after. And then look at the actions that are happening with activism and all of these privileged people. Right? Didn't work for their money, did they? They're not Dick Smith or anybody like that, are they? These people are bureaucrats that stay in power for 40 years and drive things for money masters. Money masters. And that could be considered in somewhat of a way treason when those money masters aren't a country. Because now who you're doing business with? The private, right? The private. And when that private privatizes all your assets into it, and then starves you of everything like it has done, and then tries to commit international criminal offences during an Ovid's period, like we heard here.
And then, of course, they want to target, and they specifically say that, target hard-to-reach population groups. Well, I guess in that instance, they are actually talking about me. Yes, I am a hard-to-target, a hard-to-reach population group because I saw through their lies from the get-go. I'm still unvaccinated, and I will remain unvaccinated. I will not inject a poisonous substance into my body, point blank. So go ahead and try to target me.
Right, so we're linking all of these things together now because people aren't afraid to speak up against what is truly, truly evil, right, that Albo's at the helm of right now. And it's starting to become apparent to many, many people that they are foreign power and they have a grasp in the Federal Executive Council. I mean, listen to those words again.
We have in Australia, sadly, a compromise at the highest of levels. There's a former Prime Minister on this list, and it is a police document.
So that was signed off by a QC, And the culture is in the executive branches of government, like I warned you, Pauline. Like I warned you. Where all those war criminals lie. To make decisions to poison a population. Right? A population they administer under the Hague Conventions. Rule 55, Article 55, Hague 4, war on land. War on land. That might involve land war flags, right, Pauline? So we start to get a reality in the picture. The wizards did what? The wizards did what? It's very clear. But the spell that they cast, many Australians believe it. They believed it for a time, now starting to wake up. They almost got conned to the point of it being their own life. To the point of it being their own life. Which means no more children. Which means no bloodline. Which means none of that stuff. And this is what they've created with their wizardry, their necromancy, their witchcraft. As we went over, we could go and put that before the courts of law. Because to do things in secret, we're not a secret society, we just do things in secret. Well, that's witchcraft in a coven. Because that coven comes out and affects society. And in very bad ways. Control. Total control. So we start to see, as we link the war crimes, and we look at the last bullet point on that list. What's it say? What's it say? That you're obligated to do what now? What now? What now? Now? Right, so we start to see, don't we? The Australian government is obligated to report war crimes because it's obligated to the Hague and the Geneva and all of those rest of those little clubs they joined to administer peoples and treat them like slaves and put them into sweat labour and put $1 trillion debt on their backs, directly on their backs, not on the nation anymore. You know, minerals don't pay for that. You do. In your sweat tax labour fine economy. And you notice that in other countries like China. It's become a sweat tax labour fine economy. And everyone's now gritting their teeth because that's what they want out of you. Blood from a stone. Blood from a stone. Blood from a stone. When your forefathers spilt that blood for that stone. For it. So that you could see with your own eyes the very witchcraft that all these people are doing to you. That all these people are doing to you. Right? So this witchcraft in your town. In your town. Like the CEO of your council. Right? Is part of the witchcraft. I don't care about you. It's a money machine. Chinky, chinky, chinky. Chinky, chinky, chinky. Chinky, chinky, chinky. It's got nothing to do with you. I mean, you pay your rates to watch them get investors to come in and build concrete monstrosities everywhere in your town. And then they charge you in a usufruct. No, they come and concrete everything, like your foreshore that you never wanted concreted because it looked nice before. Now it's like glaring white everywhere you go. Like you need double sunglasses on just to walk down footpaths. And that's what they do. They upset your whole entire mind space to continue in this erratic behaviour so that they can maintain this shit. So that they can maintain this evil wizardry they self-admit to. They self-admit to. I mean, look again. Is that self-admittance? Is that self-admittance? The Wizards of the Parliament teaching your children all about the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, the veil of Siddim that's collapsing while they become the slaves. Right? That's just bizarre, isn't it? That they would choose to go down this completely delusional modus operandi of storytelling to the children, little 5-year-olds they call citizens, that are all celebrating Bankers' Flag Day today, instead of looking at who Queen Victoria is and what got administered by these witches. I mean, they self-admit it. Look again. They self-admit it, don't they? So Queen Victoria had nothing to do with this. Colonisation had nothing to do with this. This evil administrating power that came here to run everything like a farm, because they defrauded you and conned you out of your own mind space. Aborigines as well, because they don't know. Tell me one Aboriginal tribe that's managed to defy self-determination before any court of justice like I did. Exactly like I did, with your gods and your ability to stand in that title. None of you. None. Right? That's why they all resorted to corporations and try and undermine everything in the down with the colony that holds the corporations in the first place. So collapse all your corporations is what you're saying. And allow what? Those money men in their mining to run the usufruct at everyone's expense. Everyone's expense. Because we have gas and coal, minerals and gold and silver and all sorts of stuff in this country that could be keeping all of our tribes rich, all of our towns and everything rich. But where does it go? Why don't you ask Albo and his WEF partners that want to enslave you in a real world slavery? I mean, these people committed war crimes. Absolute technical war crimes. And they led you into slavery with their enterprise bargaining agreements and their changes to the law to fit their agenda. Because they're administrators. They want to keep control by putting you into $1 trillion more debt that they can manage. It's called fraud. It's called defrauding your children out of their future by expecting your slavery until the year 2080. Because Frydenberg said you'll be slaves until the year 2080. Right? And then you had this other idiot, Chalmers, say the age of entitlement's over. So if they're not going to give you anything, how are you expected to pay back the $1 trillion that they put on your backs? Literally. Wake up. They did that to you as a population to keep you in their grasp. What do you think immigration's all about when they need it to balance their books? It's kind of obvious now. These money masters treat this like their farmland instead of a country anchored in a stone with God and the people around that stone. And you can go and Google that photo of when the stone opened. There's like 40,000 people surrounding the building, demonstrating Genesis 1:9, that all of you as spirits rose the holy ground up out of those international waters and said, we are. Are we? Of course we are. We see what they've done. We see who they are. We see the war crimes that will be openly demonstrable on a courtroom record. We see the war crimes that could be accused across the board. across the board. And this is the stark point of the matter now, is that you have this anchoring in God, in a stone, that sets you apart from what administers you, that's trying to trick the world right now into falling apart on itself while they sit on the outside waiting to take command. Because you can't do it yourselves. Right? And they don't care if you die. All those humans out there, was what Bill Gates said. All those humans out there. Is he part of that weffy stuff? Is he sitting there at the table with little bald man pinky finger? Is he? Or is he part of the Zionist style fuck everything up line? Because the only way I can survive is by bombing the shit out of everything around me and not giving a fuck about the fact that I committed genocide. And then could you not say that every politician that stood up in support of Israel in the last 6 months, who should have shut their mouth, right, is now guilty of treason, acting on behalf of powers foreign that have no interests in us, let's say financially a creditor or something that's now lost its ability to be that creditor to something else a little bit more Nazi-like. Zig-heil, classy boy. That's what you expect from everyone, isn't it? Poof! 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 A little bit of witchcraft for everyone. Poof! A little bit of witchcraft in front of the world. Let's open the Swiss tunnel again, shall we? And dance around and show a little bit of witchcraft there too. Hey, shall we? We see Beetlejuice will not explode. You'll sell all of these people a story they'll believe in, like little children believing in fairy tales, instead of looking at the real fairy tales and seeing that as the reality. They're controlled by a money market system, and they're sold into it like a rat wheel until they can't get out of it. And then you entrap their children's minds in the state curriculum from your executive branches of government, where Albo sits, with his federal executive branches, the Federal Executive Council, along with all the ex-prime ministers and all the ex-governor generals that this guy talks about here.
We have in Australia, sadly, a compromise at the highest of levels. There is a former Prime Minister on this list, and it is a police document.
Wow, right? And then when you listen to the American guy again.
So obviously the Congress has been compromised, and this continues on through the White House, through the Justice Department. The trash can is very deep. It's not a swamp. It's an open sewer.
Cha-ching! It all adds up together, and you could see straight through this fake glass mirror. Fake glass mirror. So that's what they try to do to you. They put a mirror on yourself, and they accuse you all the time. Oh, you're just a child. Look at you reacting all the time. Do you need some mental health? All we got to offer you is some mental health. Mental health this and mental health that. And then they turn the hospitals into a machine and give a fuck about you. You arrive there for a neck injury, and they ask you if you've got some sort of other things that are on their checklist before they can even triage you. They don't go into repair mode. They don't care. They make you sit in the foyer for 5-6 hours and try and provoke you into that belligerence. Provoke you. To try and get a reaction out of you so they can go, oh, look at you, child, you don't understand. Look at you being belligerent. This is their modus operandi, while they do all of the eyes wide shut inside the doors that they all hide behind. Some of them run into the kitchen and they hide while you're knocking on the door going, "Hello, Mr. Attorney General. Oh, I could see you hiding in the kitchen." And he refused to come out to his office and open the door.
Includes a whole lot of prominent people. And I think to protect the discretion of the Royal Commission, I won't comment on what the Commission thought, except that they thought it was outside the terms of reference of the Royal Commission.
That's who they are. That's who they are. They're the veil behind the curtain, that all their power is in a bank and not in God. Not in God. There's no God in here, said a magistrate. Well, okay then. Who did you take an oath to then? You had to have taken an oath to sit behind a bench, right? Who to? Who to? So we get back to this adage of who do you serve? God, the Anzac, and the real line of authority in this country, or those bankers and those administrators that came here and then put the Aborigine into the Constitution by conning Australia into believing they had a referendum of, yeah, let's let the Aborigine, a sovereign people on their own, into the Constitution in 1967. And you can't equate what happened in the video at the start.
It's got to be Victoria, and the writing on what was left of the monument reads, "The colony will fall." Ooh. Well, you trollops, it hasn't fallen. In fact, the colony's long gone. We are now a thriving, modern nation.
Witchcraft. Witchcraft. Trying to make you believe that your children, so you can fight against each other. And activists will come along and go, wah, 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 for the witchcraft. Because where's the black privilege come from? The witchcraft. The witchcraft. Well, where does this all get allowed to occur? The witchcraft. And all you need to do is look at the Attorney General's office for the last 12, 15 years. And you listen again.
Include in the terms of reference the institution of the law. And I have documents here which the Royal Commission has seen to justify that case, and in fact every Attorney General, from Attorney General Ruddock till now, has seen some of these documents, and they are police documents, and they are very disturbing.
Every Attorney General since Ruddock has known about these problems. How far back does that go? Right, and then when you look at what I've done, that's 15 years. These people are evil pieces of shit. And they're finally getting caught out at what they've done. Done already. They don't have to do it. They did it. One sip. And down. That's all it is. So all you lot need to realise is, oh, well, what do we do next? Well, is this your country or those bankers? Is this your land you've got your feet on right now that you want to defend together, tribes and cities and towns and all that stuff together, against this evil shit and witchcraft that they brought on you over the last 50, 60, 70 years? I mean, well, it's a Menzies model, isn't it? A Scummo model? A Howard model? He disarmed you all as a population and brain dumbed you down into believing that defending yourselves was bad. And now they're brain dumbing you down into believing that you can't be you as a people. Got to be all inclusive and everything by being divided by Nazis who used the same agenda in 1942. In 1942. You know, with the little girl with the plaits and telling you all that you needed to be wokeified. And you accepted it then. And as we pointed out, jibby jabby jab jab, you kind of just accepted that now. And that's the sad reality here. is that this is what you have been presented with as you start to realise the real criminal offences that these people have committed.
All of the mandates, all of the lockdowns, all of the non-pharmaceutical measures as wearing masks, staying at home, curfews, all of that was based on that gigantic lie.
Hey, we're talking real human trafficking every time they give you a fine. Every time a police officer issues a fine, they are participating in human trafficking. Whether they understand it or not, I don't care anymore. The reality is they put the sweat labour on your back, and that is an act of human trafficking. Human trafficking enacted by the state to pay off a debt created by a treasurer. Created by a treasurer. $1 trillion putting you into debt to 2080 is slavery. Intentional. It's not an unintentional event where they go, oh crap, we've run out of money. No, you ran out of money in 1965 and they've mind manipulated you out of everything under your feet. And now they're going to pull the rug out from underneath all of you. Black and white, play the blacks against the whites in an ANC style shit down of South Africa in this country. Because you failed to comprehend what witchcraft was. Running your towns, running half the world, playing Zionism and papism, right? Because I don't care about you. Who is the world pillar? The pillar of your world, defined and anchored, making your realm appear and exist. Who's that? Is it the Pope? You're a Catholic nation. What's Pell doing here, running your military off in Afghanistan while all those other things occurred? It's starting to become a reality now. What's going on in your country? And how these evil pieces of shit have actually manipulated your country to be that. To be that. They did that on purpose so that they could install their concrete shops everywhere, right? Their 15-minute cities aren't controlled environments. They're no point to go anywhere else because the same shit's available in every city, right? And you start to see it in their concrete shopping centre parks. They've popped up in Townsville, they've popped up in Mackay. It's a repeat of the same stores, isn't it? In every city. Because that's what they force down your throats. Because that's what they are. Concrete. Everywhere. Concrete. Concrete everywhere. And they're obligated, at international law, to report war crimes that occur in this land under their administration, and they fail to do that. Isn't that right, Pauline Hanson? Isn't that right? Use the work for your own devices and ignore the communications. And that's the sad thing. Getting caught out using my work in the Parliament for your own advantage without addressing the point of my work. Would that make you a criminal? Would that make it treason, Pauline? Would that make that a direct act of treason, Pauline, for undermining your very own constitution and the blessing of Almighty God that founded the line of authority in that constitution that has got nothing to do with what's going on in your wokeified world today, because the foundations in that is with us. With us, not you. You were the ones that said, if we do this to ourselves, we put a poison chalice to our own lips. Jabby, jabby. And that sort of happened already. And there's no reversing that, is there, Pauline? There's no reversing the decisions of a military to go and shoot 24,000 students in a New South Wales stadium with a poison that was proven and admitted by Pfizer not to work, not to have worked. So why'd you jab 24,000 New South Wales students in a stadium? That sounds very Nazi-like to me. In a stadium, with the help of the military, a COVID task force lieutenant commander, like that Bossy, if I remember correctly. And didn't he go on to do those racy odd contracts, right, in that private military industrial contract? The complex, they call it, I think. And that's what runs our country. Instead of giving a fuck about all the people, you ride off their backs instead and sweat labour them to tears to pay for your little silver spoon. Silver spoons. I find it disgusting. Right, some of us have to sacrifice everything just to point this out. Just to point this out. Just to be able to stand on a courtroom record and say, no, I don't participate in any of your evil shit. Unless I'm forced at hand to, and that would be in some way a crime, wouldn't it? A crime. And a necessity. So we could call a tort of necessity on using your script. Well, we could call a tort of necessity on using a name that you came in, invaded and took over and put into holy seas, brainwashing all these people with your witchcraft to not know their own gods. So they were lost in a cesta QV. All this hard hitting home now. Like 2024 is now the year of truth. All of you who have something to say about them, dump it in my lap. Dump it in my lap. Holy dump it in my lap. I'll speak up. They deserve to be held to account. Right? And when it comes to 1967 and a referendum and allowing Aboriginal in, and then the creation of all these fake Aboriginal tribes, and then all of these monies being funneled through, and then you as a country having to pay for that, having to pay for someone else that you never had to pay for before, right? Because they told you to. And it cost you your entire lands, constantly paid for this shit for 40, 50 years. When you never paid for it before 1967. And now it's all your fault. They're blaming it on you. The witches who did it all are now blaming it on you and getting everyone in society to believe that it was you that did it when it was them that did it to you. Who do they administer? Who do they administer? Who do they administer? Who do they administer? They came here in 1967. They lowered the Admiralty ensign on the 1st of March 1967 and raised a white ensign on a naval fleet. Who are they? Who are they? To come here and lower the Admiralty ensign on your fleet and raise an Admiralty ensign upon what now is their fleet. Who are they? Does it ever sink in, 1967? And then they came and merged the cabinet with the Prime Minister's office and then kicked off Whitlam out and created the Great Seal of Australia and the Order of Australia. Who are they? Imposters. Who are they? They created everything after 1967 to be something else. Who are they? And then at the same, who are you? Have you worked that out yet? Have you worked out why there is a claim now on the Supreme Court record defining the very actions that occurred in that forensic mental health to be a serious war crime? A serious war crime. I don't think you realise this at the end of the day. Magistrates in New South Wales committed heinous international war crimes offences within the courtrooms of New South Wales themselves. That's the reality that we're looking at here. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't go away now. It's been sealed. on the courtroom record and made wholly public the actions of all the names that participated in a forced medical procedure not linked to the Ovids, opening the door to the Ovids and everything else. These people are heinous war criminals, and they act upon you in that way every day because in their minds, that's all they can think. They're witches that believe you're imperfect, and they can treat you any way they like because you're imperfect. Well, the gig's up. God rose up and showed we were perfect and they were administrators and imposters in our land, imitating our arms. Imitating our arms. And that is called a chivalry offence. A court of chivalry offence. In a College of Arms in London. Right? And that's something we need to look at. Because this is a serious theatre that we look at after a Brereton report defines that an administrating power, being this governing power, is obligated to report all war crimes that it comes across. Like David Halpin and the New South Wales Magistrates Court. And the magistrate, they put that man in jail that saw the forced medical procedure occur under Forensic Mental Health New South Wales. Forensic Mental Health New South Wales. Okay, so blase, social media, woo, who cares? Things have been done, and all of you need to realise this now. These things already been told, spoken, defined. You all act like it's a wish and a want. No, you're looking at a real war criminal out there. You're looking at people that have no connection to your country. You're looking at people that administer on behalf of foreign powers, that mind trick you into slavery for trying to put $1 trillion debt on your back for 100 years. That's how evil that is. And you've got this last opportunity worldwide. Canada, New Zealand, England, South Africa, and so on. Wake the fuck up. This our realm that they want to destroy. Do you want to let them? Are you going to let them destroy our realm that stands and is anchored with God? It's like going to destroy Mecca. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So all this whining and whinging, like at the beginning of the video, is kind of hilarious. It's witchcraft, getting scared that they might fall to the actual war crimes that they've committed.